Hey, Luckies, it's your boy Carter Loesch, and we have a full new episode with Mark Evgenev of Desync AI. Notre Dame student, great guy, talking all about AI, talking about the world of what we should be afraid of, what we shouldn't be afraid of, how it's going to impact our daily lives. My 2 cents, even though I don't know much about AI, but all these things that turned into an awesome conversation. I was so happy to be able to sit down with him, and I am so excited for all of you to get a chance to listen to this guy. He's brilliant, he's so smart, and he's created this Desync AI, which helps VC analysts get all the accessible information on the internet so that they can make better decisions. I loved this episode, and I know that you will too. So, as always, keep living the luck management lifestyle. Ayo!
Welcome back to Luck Management. I'm your host, Carter Loesch, and this episode is always brought to you by CharmND. Hold a piece of Notre Dame in your hand. Got all these little trinkets, got these necklaces, bracelets, earrings that you guys can wear and represent the University of Notre Dame. And we are back with the installment of episode 103 with a friend of mine that I am very excited to sit down and talk about some of the AI world, a current student at Notre Dame. We have Mark Evgenev on the episode today. Mark, how you doing today?
Good. Real quick, I'm currently taking a pause for a semester. I'm coming back next semester, so not current.
So student adjacent then,
Yeah.
right? Very, very cool. Okay, just to get started on that, I mean, are you taking it off because you're working right now, or
Yep.
is it you're working on this new business?
Yeah, so I guess a little fun fact about me. I've been working since essentially 14 years old. 2015, my first job was in a hospice.
Really?
And that kind of set me on like this warpath of just getting as much experience as possible. So I've worked in
Cool.
like places like Uzbekistan, Russia, UK, US, Zimbabwe. I got experience a lot of the world even before I came to Notre Dame. And
Man.
end up finding this the 8th company. So yeah.
So you're serial entrepreneur at the end of the day, I will say.
I didn't say they were successful.
Hey, dude, you gotta have a lot of misses before you can see the good things come through. First off, I am kind of like you in a different realm where I've lived in a lot of different places in my life. You know, born in Jersey, lived in Charlotte, went to school in the Midwest, and now I'm down here in Texas and studied abroad and did a lot of that stuff. You get so much culture and understanding of how people operate, how they work, and you can kind of see where the good things you can apply to your own businesses or how you want to live your life from it. That culture shock and being able to be from everywhere is something that like not a lot of people get to have the opportunity to utilize.
Yeah, definitely. I think that just the sheer amount of experience I've had in like different cultures and different things I've done really just stacks up over the years.
Yeah.
So I remember like I think one of like the weirdest facts I know is that like in Africa, I used WhatsApp to facilitate payments in Zimbabwe. So we had to build an app around just WhatsApp. And then you come to the States and suddenly you have an iPhone, you have so many different apps, and it seems like there's too much of it. So it's always like weird coming back to the States after being at work somewhere like else, and they have completely different system and culture and values.
Right? And especially with an iPhone where it is the central part of, I feel like, American society. If you're not on that blue text, people have issues with you. You have a lot of people being like, "Oh, you don't have an iPhone?"
Yeah, I came to the States with an Android, so I lived in London 10 years, and then before that I was in Russia, so like I had an Android. I actually had Nokia Brick until I was 16.
Yeah.
courtesy of the parents there. But I just remember coming to the States to an Android, and it felt so polarizing because nobody else had one.
Right. Those green texts come across, and you're like, okay, we can be friends, but not that close.
Yeah. Yep.
I WhatsApp is one of the craziest things to me too, because it is in almost every other culture. It is uh, probably the top modem of communication. I see so many people, a lot of in the Hispanic culture, a lot of people throughout, South America, even in Europe, everybody's on WhatsApp, and it's not used as heavily here.
Yeah, I feel it's the iPhone thing where you just use iMessage and that's it. So you never like had a problem with like trying to message someone else, and then suddenly you have international, and it just all gets very, very like,
I mean,
just spiral into it.
if you look at it, I mean, it is a true monopoly, at least here in the United States with that. My dad has a Samsung too, and we always used to joke about it with him, being like, "Oh, your phone's gonna blow up on you. It's gonna flame out and everything." We survived that, but pretty funny to see. Um, but to the basis of this conversation, and the reason why I asked you here, and I guess a little bit of background of we met back at Notre Dame, kind of in passing there. I think maybe I was at the Idea Center, or maybe it was even near the student.
I remember meeting you. I slipped you my resume at the career
Oh,
fair
yeah,
because
yeah.
I remember you sitting at the chair, and I didn't see you having like any resumes, and I just sort of came up and I was like, hey, like, what do you hire for? And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And I've actually been listening to your podcast ever since then. So,
Yeah. Ah, well, always appreciate the listens. And I do remember that we're upstairs on top of the football stadium. And that was a fun time, being able to I found a table and I said, "Hey, let's market luck management. Let's get people listening to the podcast." That's funny. I have come pretty far on it now. I'm over 100 episodes, which is like the craziest thing in my mind. And as you have kind of talked about, like there's a lot of hard work going into, building out a business, even if it doesn't always work, but like thinking of new ideas and how you're going to go about maximizing your luck, so to say. You got to put yourself into those situations of connection, those situations of always working to see a positive light in things. Because hey, if you've done 8 businesses and 7 have failed, hey, there's still one working. How are you going to put the most into that? Um, so I feel like you live that luck management lifestyle a little bit too.
yeah, I guess. Even now, it's like, I don't think it's ever advertised how hard it is to start something by yourself.
So
So just
true.
PSA to everybody out there, just like if you are wanting to start and you watch all these movies about Zuckerberg and everything else, it's not like that. It's a
No.
lot more sleepless nights and a lot more, hey, am I doing the right thing with my life? But I think right now I can say that for me at least, I am, because I'm happy and I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. Well, then let's talk about this a little bit. So you came out with Desync AI, and where did the idea come from? And I'd love to hear about some of those sleepless nights and some of those issues, but how you're curtailing them, or who's in your network to help you.
Yeah, I guess Desync was like originally started like last end of summerish with a complete different business plan, a complete different idea. It was going well, and then it didn't. Closed it down, and at that point, I was like kind of not really feeling it. And over winter break, I went to Dubai to see family, friends,
Nice.
and eventually bumped into another Notre Dame person
We're everywhere.
who, yeah, um, and he ended up becoming my business partner because his business wasn't going too well either, and we just said, hey, like, let's try and do something together.
Cool.
And that a couple of weeks later, we come back to school, we started up, we incorporated the company, and we hit revenue within the next 2 weeks.
Let's go.
And that was one of those crazy moments where I'm like, I specialize in sales. So I've done sales at different startups. I've like grown communities from up to like 10,000 people before. So once we closed that first deal, it was kind of unbelievable to have that money wired into our bank. And at the time, we just want to help VCs just get faster at doing things because it seemed very slow, monotonous, and just very, very inconsistent. So I started calling the VCs I knew. And there was one particular that I knew didn't really have much technical stuff. And at that point, when they said yes, they wired us the money. We did a quick demo for them. We then used that money to buy my business partner, Max. You should also probably interview him on the podcast. He loves doing this kind of stuff. We bought him a laptop. So because his one was like, essentially his battery was kind of coming out and was about to explode.
Oh, no way.
So, yeah, we avoided a house fire and bought him a new one. And he immediately just started going at it. And yeah, that was kind of the start of Desync.
Yeah.
A couple months down the line, we realized that going to VCs directly isn't the best idea because we're these two young kids trying to tell them what to do, and that's never going to work with older gentlemen.
No, good luck with that, right?
So over the summer, we got into the Race to Revenue program with Notre Dame, and we pivoted the entire company to go just directly to consumer. And we went for the analyst in VC funds. And I think that was the smartest thing, one of the smartest things we've done to date.
Cool. And so what is the product actually doing for these analysts?
Sure. So as an analyst, every single time you come across an interesting company, imagine how many clicks of a mouse you have to do and how many Control-C, Control-Vs, or Command-C, Command-V if you're a Mac.
Yeah.
To just extract all the information about that company from that page, from the different sources, PitchBook, Crunchbase, CB Insights.
Their 10Ks, their sales, their revenue, right? Okay.
Well, I mean, we can't do those yet, but we'll be able to do the Form D filings from the SEC relatively soon.
Yeah.
Revenues, that's usually internal. You have to like reach out to them and ask. But there's still a lot of information about who are the founders, who works with them, like who backed them. Can you find any information on that?
Yeah.
That takes a long time. So with us, they click our extension once, and we grab everything and give it to them as text and format it very nicely.
Wow.
And we do that within 15 seconds. We visit about 150, 160 pages per company.
Per company. That's huge. Okay, I'm in sales as well, and I do mostly on like the skills management side of things. So software behind operational skilling and tracking like your workforce to make sure you know. But I'm always going into deep dives on how these companies are operating, why they do what they do, how many employees that they need to get up ramped or upskilled, where that knowledge loss is happening so that I can provide, a better insight into our software. And it takes a long time. And you do this through a search engine or you do this through AI of like,
so
did you build this model?
The really crazy part.
Yeah.
We built it from zero, or my co-founder did.
Yeah.
So when we first started, the way he builds technology is very, very different because of his background. So his background used to be into breaking into servers competitively and doing some of the stuff that probably would be frowned upon within a CS class.
Okay, yeah. Hacking the mainframe.
Yeah, he never did any illegal stuff. He just
yeah. He was good at it.
Yeah, he was good at it. So the way he builds software is very, very granular. So he starts building it like one little component, and then he stacks it like Lego blocks. So the beauty of it is that if something doesn't work, we know exactly what. You then can pull out that Lego block and replace it with something else. So this whole thing is just little pieces that he assembled together in this huge puzzle. And we just edit those little pieces. And he really starts granular. Like, for example, if you need something to extract a piece of text with, that's a function that he would handwrite. If you need something to go visit that page, that's a function. So our entire system is also like fully elastic. So what that means is, as the user asks for a company, we'll generate the infrastructure, the scrapers and everything, grab everything, and then scale it down back to zero, so we don't actually bleed anything in terms of cache.
Whoa! So it can scale up and then scale right back down as quickly as possible.
And we scale it for every single company. in 10, 15 seconds.
So how, I guess looking at the structure of that business, and is sometimes it's hard to get this information. How are you getting if you can answer that, like, how are you getting the information that other people can't?
So our system just fully avoids all bot detection,
Nice.
and it's just the amount that we aggregate is usually enough for the analyst to make a decision. So if they're really early stage, they mainly want to know the founder's LinkedIn's. They want to know like where they went to school.
Yeah.
They want some really basic levels of information. If, for example, from the page, they want to know what product they're selling. They usually want to know who their competitors are. We can get competitors from a source like CB Insights, which offers them for free.
True.
We scrape the web and we grab everything that's free information and public data, and we bring it just straight to the analyst.
Okay. Yeah. Quickly, easily, just
yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. And could you have done this without AI, or is that AI component a newer feature and
there's
more evolution?
There's a lot of little AI components, so we do not use anything to do with OpenAI or Claude. We avoid black box models fully. We go straight for the open source ones. We self-host them with different inference providers. I think back in the day we had either a fine-tune or a LoRa, which is a low-rank adaptation of one.
Yeah.
But we prefer to go smaller, very precise models for classifying text. So whilst we do run a couple of llamas here and there, I think the majority of our system can only work because we run very, very small things.
Yeah. Okay. So you're lean on it. And yeah, those base models, I use ChatGPT. I've like the paid version, and I think it's amazing for the normal consumer. I think it's like a fantastic tool. Hey, give me a company overview, give me a little bit of a profile based off this. They can do that. But throughout the year that I've been using 4.0 or all the upgrades, it can get very monotonous and very cyclical in the answers that it has. It's very, and it does learn from you. So it's going to shape the answers that you necessarily need when you have to be very cognizant of what you're putting in, how you're asking its questions. And so it's cool that you're able to be flexible.
But then here's the real kicker. If you were to work in a VC fund and you have all these deals coming in, would you want all those deals to go through a black box model where you don't know what happens to that data once it processes it? So there's like an issue there where if we were to run with OpenAI or something else, I don't think we'd be able to do it to the same efficiency nor the same quality of data control that we maintain.
Okay, so is that another component of yours? Very safe, secure. So it's almost like a little bit of a security component that works.
Yeah, I think later on we are going to actually implement like really high level in terms of nobody but you actually owns that data. And so that's one of our like big things that we want to try and do the next year. At the same time, the unit economics for running an OpenAI model versus what we run. We would be bankrupt if we were to run what we did with OpenAI.
Really?
Yes.
So why is that?
So currently, let me put this in perspective. If you go on OpenAI like API, I believe that they're pricing right now to call on one of their models.
Yeah.
4.0 is about, let's see, $2.50 per million. 01, let's see, where's 01? Here we go. 01 preview is $60 per million input.
How many millions of inputs are you putting in there?
Okay, so here's the thing. We've done some funny things with this. Okay. For context, a million input tokens is like 8 million characters of text. 1 million characters of text is the entire Harry Potter series from book 1 through book 7.
Okay.
So, in the last 9 days, we ran 100 million tokens.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's an expense right there.
Yeah. If we were to run them with OpenAI, doing that math, and by the way, that's input and output. So what
Uh-huh.
that means is they will bill you for putting tokens in, and then
Mm-hmm.
every time it spits out tokens, they will also charge you.
Oh my gosh.
Ayo, this episode of Luck Management is brought to you by CharmND. Love thee, Notre Dame Lucky Charms. I love Notre Dame, and when I went to school there, I wanted to have a way of holding a piece of Notre Dame in your hand. And the first iteration came from small little tubes and filling up with pieces from around Notre Dame, and it's evolved into a really cool and wonderful business that I truly cherish. And now we have necklaces, we have keychains, we have earrings, and we have bracelets. All of these pieces are from Notre Dame. So in our keychains, we have soil from Notre Dame's campus with 24 karat gold flakes. We have AstroTurf from the Notre Dame football stadium and wood shavings from the old seats of Notre Dame Stadium, a true classic of history and tradition of the Notre Dame football way. We also have gold helmets that are painted with the same gold that they use on the Notre Dame football helmets and from the Golden Dome, straight gold from the Golden Dome. All these pieces are so incredible to me, and I hope that you all enjoy them. And you can find me on charm_ND on Instagram, or you can go to our Etsy shop, which is Charm ND Store on Etsy. So please give it a check out and love the Charm ND.
That doesn't seem very plausible for for a system
And
like yours where
and
you're trying to run lean.
that's something we've been noticing a lot. There are some applications that AI should not even be a part of that people are
Yeah.
trying to do, and I think I had to learn this the hard way. Um, when I just realized that if we just remove AI from places we don't need it, we'll just be more efficient, faster, and better.
Yeah. What
So
areas do you think those are?
we removed it from a bunch of. Um, we at first tried to get AI to generate like a whole memo or a
Yeah.
VC analyst. Didn't quite work and didn't get the right. It was just hallucinating. It was all over the place. So that's not really the problem that the analyst was having. He didn't want to have a memo generated. He wanted
Mm-hmm.
to have all the facts before him in order to write that memo because that's the fun part of the job. The not fun part of the
True.
job is actually going to those sources, getting all that research together.
Yeah. Yeah. I do a lot of different business overviews, and I need to get those key facts so that, pinpointing a conversation and having that knowledge base is so key and crucial. I I do wonder, like, what your overall thoughts are on AI. You say some areas it's not good. I do think it's going to be, it's not like the .com bubble, or it's like, oh, this is going to be quick. No, this is something that's going to be literally integrated into everything. Like, even just one little thing that I've seen that is blown away is just translation and the ability to understand languages. You can talk into a phone, it can hear you, translate that, and even speak it in that language to another person. That, in and of itself, as a product, is like, can change the world exponentially.
Yeah, I fully agree with you in terms of just lowering the barrier to communication. I think the one thing that's changed a lot is coding.
Yeah.
So, for example, I was not technical at all. This summer, I sat down. So Max sat me down and actually taught me what we actually use in database. He taught me over the summer over hundreds of hours, like different concepts, different things to use, so I could actually talk to people. And people
Cool.
have this like misconception sometimes that, hey, you're technical. The reality is just sit with AI and go back and forth and get it to teach me how to code, what's wrong with my code, and then get me to correct it. So right now, I went from not being able to write code to, if you go on our website, I contributed to parts of it. And
That's
then on the
cool.
back end as well. So that was a proud moment for me last week when we published it.
Now I've done a couple. I took a coding class, except I took a class called it was AP Computer Science, but we used to call it AP Counter Strike because we used to game all the time. We had a backup in there. I got a 97 on that in that class. I didn't do too well on the AP exam, I'll tell you what.
So, fun fact about Max, he has never taken a CS class in his life.
Really?
Hmm.
Sometimes it's those self-taught people that can really know the system better than itself because you're not stuck in the guardrails, right?
So, he said something really funny to me the other day. He's like, I just think that because I wasn't taught that something is impossible, I'll just do it until it works and I'll make it work. So he's very much of the mind of like, hey, this should work. I'm not sure why it isn't. Let me try this and that, and he'll go into these weekends just going at it. And like I always enjoy sitting down next to him as we like try to brainstorm, or he tries to explain like a really complex concept to me.
Yeah.
Because of just how that works. I'm just always blown away by that man's intellect.
I'm looking at this website, and so public data access instant for analysts. Now, you decided, if you try and sell something to everyone, you're never going to sell anything to anyone, right? So you pick this analyst group, and this is where you are. Has it been successful? Have you seen that response uptick like crazy? What's that looking like?
So we realized that the analyst was the right person because they would actually talk to us. They'd give us feedback, and they'd also
Cool.
like keep giving us feedback over a period of time. So a lot of the analysts that we
Yeah.
onboarded a couple of months back when we launched the product in August end up still staying on until today and still testing, giving feedback, and actually liking the product more over that period of time.
No way.
Yeah. Then the second part of it is last night there was a fund called Inventions in Minnesota. They're a student-run VC. I talk a lot with those guys, and they actually help like shape some of the product really well.
Yeah.
They texted their chat, "Hey guys, these things just like on the freemium right now. Go get it." We weren't expecting 10 new customers to just come on that yesterday because we were
Yeah.
like mid pushing changes and like trying to figure out, okay, like this goes here to that, and then suddenly we get notifications like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They immediately start using it, and that just sets into like a panic.
Oh
But
my gosh.
just we realized that analysts have really close connections with each other and with other funds. And if we think about it, right, like once you get one analyst in the fund, probably the other 4 will come, or the other 10. It's a large one.
Yeah. Look at that advantage that you could have, right?
Yeah. And then if you look at the student fund, what's going to happen to them after they graduate? They're going to go to other VC funds, and it's just sort of like spreads like kind of like crazy.
Catches on like wildfire, man.
Yeah.
And you probably look at it like, hey, this is going really well. We're starting to learn where our core customer is. We call it ICPs, right? Like the ideal customer profile. And the fact that you've been able to say, hey, we've pinpointed here. It's cool to see where analysts go because those are the people that are doing all the grunt work. Those are the people that are working their ass off
That's the key. They're doing the grunt work.
Yeah.
That's what we kind of realized, that they were doing so much of this grunt work of like Control C, Control V. They just want to get rid of that and just do something more fun. So one of the things we've actually started implementing is other sources. So huge shout out to the Contrary guys from Contrary Research. They write like memos that take 30 minutes of reading, and they go deep into companies like OpenAI, Cerebras, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And they cover any industry you can think of. So we implemented that. If you get a competitor that's sort of OpenAI or something, you're going to get Contrary Research, and you get to read that memo. And they actually, from what I've heard, have been using that as now a new source for their memos.
What is the research place called? Contra?
It's called Contrary.
Okay, I'm going to look them up. I mean, I may even use them in the future because it's a solid tool to be able to gather that information. I may even come to you, man. I may say, hey, bring it on. We'll start looking because I'm mostly in the manufacturing sector and mostly in the world of working with a lot of different operations people, but the HR subspace. But hey, getting that information and having a better understanding just helps you with the beginning of a conversation.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
That's cool.
We're currently on the freemium of 5 free companies a day. We are going to lower that soon because we realized it's kind of too many.
Too many customers, huh?
But then the other thing that we're really solid on is like we want to lower the price as much as possible, make the system efficient to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So a competitor like PitchBook is $21K a year for 3 seats. We're $30 a month.
Wow.
So we're really trying to make it affordable for the analyst to go, hey, like I need this for myself. Let me get it, and then let me use it.
Yeah, yeah. Now, have you, even though it's still very early, you're allowing in these companies to, or you're allowing in these analysts to see it, and word's starting to spread. Have you heard from any other companies that are kind of doing these sort of things? Are you starting to get your toes stepped on a bit? What's that looking like?
So,
All right. So wait, what were you just saying? My bad.
I think a lot of companies are trying to get a lot of data really fast, but they don't realize they have to update that data. And those that do have to update a huge data set. Whilst for us, it's a bit easier because we can update a single entry at runtime for the person that wants that entry updated. So whilst another company has to rely on updating all the 200 million entries, we don't need to do one.
So you're able to do it a lot faster, a lot more efficiently, and you're giving an opportunity for, and it's mostly public data, so you're not really stepping on any toes where people are feeling like, hey, private information is being given. Now, would you ever think about in the future working, say you carve out a sector that you like love and have interest in, almost them buying into it to have some sort of licensing agreement that like only you guys are getting our data and that they have to pay for that, almost like a sharing model?
So that's really interesting you bring that up because now you do have OpenAI and Perplexity both having people bidding on which source comes up first and during the search. So that's a whole new market that's just been unlocked. I don't know. I think it's too early to tell.
Yeah.
But I also feel like there is a lot of power that comes from just getting the public information that's just out there.
Yeah.
It's hard to do in Europe just because of their very strict policies on it for people and individuals.
Yeah.
So we'll probably try and avoid that as much as possible. But
I know. Us in America, we talk so much about safety and security, but we're so willing to give it up so fast.
yeah, I mean, the other thing there is it's we feel like this has more than one application.
Yeah.
And one thing we've toyed around with is like, hey, can we just make an API to the internet, kind of? Because
Yeah.
we can technically access any page and structure that data on that page and give it to us something usable.
So, yeah, but once again, it's like you can't do everything in this moment. But you said that it's also end around, like you build it up and then you break it down. So, like, do you guys don't house any data though, so you guys keep it pretty clean on the baseline so that if somebody else goes in and searches all these things, there's no lag time, things like that. But
yeah, I mean, we run everything in the house.
Yeah, so from that, have you been able to gather information? If you're getting information on 450 companies a month that's going through your system, what if you built like an AI or an integration that actually could learn off of what everybody's kind of thinking about?
Yeah, I mean, sure, then we'd violate user privacy and we'd have no users.
True. Okay, there is
But,
that aspect.
We tend to not look at the searches that users do. I think there is, I guess, that's the right way to put it. I think it's always interesting to see the different requests come in, because like some of them, like I kind of do a lot of memo writing and I like to do a lot of research on companies, and
Yeah.
I'm a bookworm essentially as well, so I try to hunt down information from everywhere. So for me, I use Desync every single day. There have been some users who've started to do that, and that's making me feel excited as well. And so I'm very interested to see which users will make them better investors, essentially. is what I'm trying to get at. Like, will the
Right.
users that have the highest frequency of using it make better bets over a longer period of time into companies that will then work out? I think that's what would be a really cool metric if we're still alive 2 years from now.
That's where I was kind of leaning into, because then you start seeing, you look at the businesses that spend the most money, or that have the most money, and a lot of these venture capital firms, they have to be very smart. There's usually incredible people leading these things. And if you see them looking into this industry constantly over and over and over again, doesn't mean correlation is not always causation, but it sure does help, right?
Yeah, but I guess that's the one thing that I really want to avoid. And I just want to make sure that our users know that, hey, it's your data. And that's something that we're both bullish on with my co-founder. That if we are going to build this way,
Yeah.
it's going to be with the user in mind and not us. I think the famous story there is Yahoo and Google. Yahoo had this, like, I'm not sure, have you ever used it?
I really never use Yahoo now.
Damn, am I the only one? Okay, cool. So they had a directory structure, and the reason why they didn't acquire Google when Google came to them with $1 million, like, say, hey, you can buy us for $1 million, is because they wanted people to spend more time in their directory so they can put more ads and make more money. Google said that's not what users want. They just want to go to a website.
Yeah.
And that's essentially how they won the war, because they just then said, hey, we'll make it super easy for you to get to any website you want, limit the ads there, and then it's your call.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, smart business plan right there. I think there's also a bit of authenticity and transparency on that side, because if you're able to communicate that very well to a customer, that like, we care about you. Yes, we love your business. We can learn from you, but it's yours at the end of the day. It's that transparency and trust. And as you've been in sales for years and years, you understand that like, you can't get a deal done if you don't trust that person across the screen or across the hall.
I think the other thing here is, like, we don't want to tell users what to do. That's never been the goal there.
Yeah.
It's been, hey, can we free up time for them so they can do better things with their time? I think that's my personal mantra. Like, how can I free up time to do something else? And I think that's the big thing that we're going to stick to, about like, what's the most value we can provide in terms of time saved, so they can actually do the stuff they were hired to do and not just click.
Yeah. That's really, really cool. And one thing I really like about AI too is, you said it changed coding a lot. I think it also changes, I think it optimally changes coding, but it it makes sales, I think, that much more important, because as we're having so much more reliance on the data and access to information, I think it becomes exponentially more important to be able to talk to somebody and communicate what you've learned and bring that into a whole.
Here's a fun fact. I text my users.
Yeah?
Yeah, so some of the power ones, like, I literally send them texts, reminders when we update everything else, because it feels more authentic. I can't send them an email. It seems too generic. Like, with our investors, we text, we don't, like, email. If an investor calls me, like, I'll pick up the phone like a normal person. It just seems like we went away from that, and there's so much spam happening right now. And just, like, I'm sure your LinkedIn inbox gets the annoying messages.
Yeah.
Um,
Usually I'm the one who's doing it. I'm just joking. No, it's a it has become pretty crazy how our normal mode of communication is now through email or LinkedIn chat, and sometimes it's hard to gather that information on. Like, I use like a seamless integration that can get you some numbers here and there, and that's pretty helpful. But you need to go that extra mile. Like, something I've been doing lately for my business is, I'm local to Houston, so I'm finding a lot of these massive energy companies, these massive manufacturing firms, and saying, hey, let's go get lunch, let's go talk about your pain points, let's go golf.
I wish there was a class in school, to be honest. I think that's what was missing from Notre Dame. Like, I
Yeah.
think that needs to be a class. Like, how do you engage real people, and not just look at a case study and say, well, hypothetically, this is a DCF, and here is some projections I'm going to make about how good this business will be in 10 years from now.
Yeah. So I went to grad school at Notre Dame,
And some people look at that as like, oh my gosh, it was probably so hard. It's probably the craziest like academics. Yes, Notre Dame is hard, and you have to learn a lot, and um, there are high standards. But the biggest thing about grad school, and I think it's a best kept secret, it's about the connections. It's about the people you meet. It's about how you can forge those conversations. You meet somebody in a hiring fair, and you say, "Hey, what's up? Like, what are you building? What are you trying to do?" That's cool.
I think when we bumped into the career fair, I was building an AI tutoring platform at the time.
I think I remember that.
On
Yeah.
the verge of it, yeah. But yeah, no, time sure does fly. I will say to all the Irish listeners, as someone coming from, I guess, not the States, and just the way how welcomed I felt at Notre Dame, like, I'll always be grateful for it. And I think that's a big part of I'm still kind of in South Bend. I'm still engaging with the community.
Yeah.
It's the VC Club, which meets in a couple hours from now, or I mentor a lot of students here who do startups. So I try and help out where I can, and
Ayo, today's episode is brought to you by Teresa McKenna's Life in Christmas Letters, a story of friendship, love, and loyalty. It's her debut novel, and Teresa McKenna is an 89 graduate, and this story is all about Notre Dame love. Her novel is a semi-autobiographical and about much more than just Christmas. It's a year-round celebration of the little moments and memories of life. The narrative, though fictional, touches on a wide range of topics, including the joys and challenges of motherhood, the intricacies of relationships, the love of family, unexpected life changes, and much more. The story weaves together the Christmas letters she and her husband have written over the last 2 decades into an exploration of life's important moments. This book is perfect for anyone who loves a heartwarming read with relatable characters, learning to navigate life, family, and relationships. And if you love Notre Dame, it's a must read. The book is available in several formats on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. An exclusive ND Art edition featuring artwork by Notre Dame artist Kathleen Kiefer is also available from Ingram Spark on teresamckenna-author.com. Please check it out and enjoy this book. Thanks. Now let's get back to the show.
Are you in the idea center a lot? And don't mind me while I'm moving. Are you in the idea center a lot, going through and having those conversations with, some of the guys there? They do like a really good job of working and providing funding and stuff like that. I know you did the race event, but how is
Race
that
to Revenue.
conversation with Notre Dame been for you?
I think Notre Dame's doing a lot of things right, and I think they've learned from what they've done wrong. I think that's with any venture, with any innovation center. I think because we started a bit later than others, we didn't learn as much as the others that actually dealt a lot more early on. There's a good community here of people who really do care about startups, and who are willing to take out their time to mentor students. Like, I'm very fortunate enough to have bumped into John Henry 3.5 years ago, and then out of that came like company one through 6 and 7. And I think what Notre Dame really does well is the people that are willing to mentor you and help you out. It's not even the cap. Like, the money is just like a grant here, a grant there always helps a startup, but it's really the people that make you feel like you're not alone doing this and you're not going insane. Because doing a business yourself, like, there's been some very lonely nights.
Definitely, man. I do this podcast as a co-host on my own, or not even a co-host, just as the host, right? And it's it all falls on you. Now the glory falls on you too, and the hard work and everything. Nobody's going to do that for you. I've realized that time and again, like with Charm ND and stuff like that. Sometimes it's hard to ask for help though. And sometimes it's very hard to give up something or feel like you're giving up something in spite of you, but you need to do that. Like, you can't do anything alone. I don't know.
I think there's a rule for startups that you should not do it alone. I think that's something I've always preached to every single student I've met. Like, hey, get a partner. It's okay if they're not a brilliant coder right
Yeah.
now. They can learn over time, learn together. Because I think that's just also the other thing that's kind of missing, where it's people get into startups thinking they'll build it in 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then they realize it's going to take them a month, 2 months, 3 months, and by then they're already like burnt out, and it just doesn't go anywhere. And it's okay to slow down sometimes, learn, build together, and actually ask for that help.
Yeah.
I was really bad at the latter part, where I would not ask for help, and that ended up in me burning out, sleeping through meetings. I fell asleep in class. There was a fun fact. Once my head just smashed on the desk, and the teacher kind of let me go.
Good thing the nuns aren't there anymore to hit you with the ruler sticks.
Yeah.
No, I definitely agree with you there. I do a lot of, this stuff on my own and stuff. But one thing you do have to realize though too is that if you are a founder or if you are somebody that did start something, that the people that you're going to bring in, they're going to bring in new, fresh ideas, but they're also never going to be as enthusiastic as you are unless you're able to carve out and find what really does inspire them in that route.
I think I was thinking the same thing about that at some point. And then we hired our first hire, Jackson, and he came on the team full time.
Nice.
And he closed down his startup and then said, "Guys, I just want to work with you." And I've never seen that. And then I was like, okay, let's see what happens. 9 p.m. works with us. First UI, it was like okay. Went out, learned more, came back, built better UI. And I'm really trying to look for people like that to work with. And I think it's just you have to hire slow and fire fast. I think that's the phrase that people use.
Yeah. Hire slow and fire fast. That's one of the biggest things that I'm dealing with in the skills management world, because what we're doing is we're tracking and validating these skills, and either it's going to show you that you don't have the right workforce to be capable to do the jobs that you need to do, or you are not utilizing your workforce in the right way. And I'll tell you what, people don't want to be told that they're doing something wrong or that they can do it better, right? Yeah. And so,
Sorry.
no, you're good. You're good. I know. I've seen it. I've seen it be one of those things that when you're getting down to the brass tacks of it, it is a couple people, one person joining your company that can completely change the outlook of your trajectory. You all right?
Sorry. Yeah, I just joked that when you said that, like you can't like force a person
Yeah.
to change.
No, the data is the data, right? It just depends on how you want to splice it, I guess.
I think the thing that's kept me going all this time, I've probably pulled more all-nighters with my co-founder than I have alone. And
Nice.
people, if you ask people who know me, like, hey, does like Mark really sleep? Back in the day, I really was bad about sleep. Now I'm way better because of a Whoop, and this will send like notifications to a certain computer that will just turn everything off I have, and I will have to go to bed.
Hey, smart, dude. Guardrails, right?
Yep. And I just remember like the first all-nighter Max and I pulled together, and it's like he lives in a one bedroom apartment in Foundry. We're just working, accidentally pulled an all-nighter.
Yeah.
Happens. And then we were on a call this morning, like 6 a.m. I think I just like kind of dozed off, woke up, went back, and we still have work to do, and just that hasn't died out yet, which I'm very fortunate and also really grateful for, because I did not think that we would have made it, either of us, this far without having the other person on the call doing that same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, where do you see like next steps moving for the company? So you've gotten some funding and you've gotten some or you've gotten customers now. You're bringing on new guys, which you might be bringing down. But like, where's the roadmap forward?
I think right now our goal is 100 customers,
Nice.
and then we'll see.
Yeah.
We're at 39.
Cool.
So, but surely I think the product is in a point where we can actually start selling it to people more. I think initially it's kind of like, every single first IT product is an ugly duckling.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of have to like nurture it, feed it, and take care of it for a while. But with all the user feedback we've gotten, I think I've spoken to maybe like 400 different analysts. I think I've begun to understand like, hey, this is a fund that will use it, this is a fund that won't. So right now it's like after that 100, where do we go? Well, let's see if that theory holds. Can we run analytics on all the users we have, figure out the demographics, like what actually drives them, and then use that to then target other funds which are similar to the initial ones.
Yeah, that's something I'm always doing, looking at current customers and seeing where there's possible overlaps to make those decisions, because if you're having those issues, there's no way that they're not having those issues there. And you want to be the first one to get on the scene.
I mean, it's also really funny to me because it feels like the people who back us are also our investors. So it's kind of a weird market where, like, you don't have to really get funding. If your product works for a fund well enough, hey, you can get more funding, kind of. But then I'm also like really targeting the younger generation, just because they're the ones that are doing the most of this grunt work, and they really shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think about that too. And if you actually look at the use of technology, right? Like the younger generations are using this technology so much more than they ever were. And these
my youngest brother, he had his first laptop at 8 years old.
Yeah.
Laptop, like a Microsoft book. I grew up with a VHS cassette in Russia.
Yeah.
I'm still part of that generation.
Dude, I remember the TiVo. I remember the phone where you had to like swipe up and you had the text right there, man. Yeah, you had the switch, you had everything. I mean, I was playing GameCube back in the day.
I started with a PSP.
Oh, I love the PSP. That was ahead of its time. If you really look at that system is like one of the coolest things ever. The way that they built it.
But I feel like AI is slightly also in the same regard, bringing quickly back there. It's still slightly ahead. It's still too early. I think we're early in this stage, and I think we're about to see some really fun stuff.
Yeah. So where I see it is that translation. I think it's massive for like images and things like that, for scans for doctors too. If they're able to wear goggles or things like that, that could help in the future, because everyone is pushing these glasses now. The glasses are becoming
the Meta
massive.
Ray-Bans, yeah.
Like so.
I think the biggest thing that we shouldn't forget, and I think that's a lot of people are forgetting this, it's look at history, read history, and understand where this tech came from. That's like, I'm very fortunate to have read a lot of books, and I try and read like at least a book or two a week, because people are just using AI to answer questions, and they're forgetting to learn from it as well. So, for example, great book, it's called From Rhino to Unicorn by Orlovsky. It talks about how these huge companies rose up and then went to nothing. For example, BlackBerry versus Apple. BlackBerry was dominating the market, and then suddenly Apple came in and just killed them.
Yeah. Have you seen that movie?
Movie?
There's a BlackBerry movie. It's kind of like a funny movie. I forget what it's called, but it's hilarious. But it talks about that whole rise and fall. So continue. Sorry.
Yeah. I think we really look at history and like try and see, okay, what do we think will fall? What's to Peter Thiel, what's a contrarian belief that you have that no one else will agree with you with, or very few people will?
Yeah.
And just still have those like ideas coming in, because I'm just seeing too many people dependent on just getting AI to just.
Ayo Luckies, this is Carter Loesch from the Luck Management Podcast, and it is my distinct pleasure today to announce t-shirts
have been released. Available on my Instagram page for the_luck management and also on CharmND's Etsy shop. And now these shirts are a great way for you to rep your love for the podcast, your appreciation and support for the show, and just to share and work out in, go walking in, walk your dog in. Heck, go to the pool in the shirt. Somebody sees it. Whoa, that's such a cool shirt. Where'd you get that? Yeah, it's a really cool podcast. You should check it out. The Luck Management Podcast. And, this shirt, even though it's simple, it embodies the luck management lifestyle. And I would so appreciate it if you would consider purchasing it and wearing it in pride and in your love for Notre Dame. So please check it out and keep living the luck management lifestyle. Peace.
Just answer very specific homework questions and then nothing else.
Yeah.
And don't even thinking about where it's coming from. Really interesting thing people could do. OpenAI has a fund. They invest in startups. They have 2 funds actually. And you can look at their portfolio. They've invested in robotics, as in literal robots that walk, autonomous vehicles, as a speech AI. Probably one of my favorite investments they've done is Harvey AI, which is Harvey Specter, so legal firm.
Nice.
And if you look at those investments, you can see where OpenAI is playing as an investor now. You really start to look at the world a different way.
So my mom, she's in sales. She would always be like, we loved Suits when we were younger. So she would always say, channel your inner Harvey. And because he always has the most confidence, he always wins all of his cases, figures it out. So that's awesome. I'm going to be checking out Harvey AI. That's cool. Yeah. Are you worried? Are you worried at all about AI? Because you're around it so much. I mean, there's obvious people that don't know the system very well, but they're concerned about things.
I think there's a difference between concerned and, I guess, in fear of it. So I consult with a couple of VC funds. One of them brings me in to help them with their AI strategy. And when they look at AI startups, they usually ask me a bunch of technical questions, and I help them due diligence those. Having worked with them for a while now, I've gotten to see what the hell is a data center? How the hell do you build one? What are the economics behind the data center? How fast does it pay back the money that you invest into it? What tech is used to train AI, inference AI, so on and so forth. And I'm just excited, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's just so many little pieces. And once you start unpacking, it's you figure that OpenAI is just a wrapper for NVIDIA. And NVIDIA is just a wrapper for TSMC. Taiwan Semiconductor.
Yeah.
And, it's fun.
Look at, I work with a lot of semiconductors, so we talk a lot to a lot of the foundries. So, global foundries, your ASML, that are building these massive machines that are each 250 million, 300 million to just build, to create these wafers on all of this silicone and the amount of water treatment that they need for all this. It is so much more complex than you think, but it is also beautiful.
I had to write a thesis on one of those with that venture fund, and I just remember that thing took 170 pages.
You probably could have gotten more.
Yeah, but I also I feel people are just so scared of AI replacing them that they just default to fear and instead of adoption. And then there's also the other aspect of it. It's well, what am I going to do? I've just spent 4 years in college. And this way I see most coming out of my peers. It's I spent most of my life in college studying this subject. I want to go into this field. I'm so certain of it. But other fields haven't been explored. And it's they've specialized a bit too early. And I think this is a chance for them to actually go out and try something else that potentially will make them happier instead of sadder and just pessimistic.
Yeah. I'm actually amazed by people that know exactly what they want to do with their lives, because
Oh, I don't.
Of course, you have general directions and stuff like that, but there's so much to explore, and there's so much to learn. The one flip side that I do worry about on the AI side is just this mass push of information. You see it in the like media for news and stuff. People just become desensitized to the craziest things. Whether you like this whole like wanted this election cycle or not, like the amount of things that were just happening back and forth, and the fact that people are like, oh, this is just the way we live now. It's that is too much. So it's like, the illusion of all these choices actually doesn't always help us, or all this information, it can kind of make us contract a bit.
Yeah, November 5th, Microsoft filed a filing with the SEC for proxy. I think it's a proxy vote that they did. Highly recommend you read it. They go into the dangers of AI and government controlling people using AI and leveraging Microsoft's government contract to gain access.
Okay, I'm looking this up.
It should be in the EDGAR. I can also text you after.
Okay, I'm gonna check out.
But that has a whole like paragraph upon paragraph on OpenAI, and the fact they filed it November 5th is just interesting. The most the most like profound thing that they said in the entire report was, Apple and Microsoft are competitors. Why were we both offered a board seat on OpenAI? There is a reason we didn't take it. And I just remember reading that and then them going into lawsuits and talking about Anthropics and talking about other platforms like Llama and Zuckerberg. And I feel like that is a must read if you want to understand what's coming down the pipeline.
Yeah. Well, we have seen some incredible impacts of what social media does to the brain and what it does to social anxiety, depression, things like that. Just imagine using AI to bolster that. I mean, it's unchecked.
There is a startup I know that's creating an emotional social network, which will allow. They have a thesis that people cannot express their feelings well enough in this desensitized age. So they want to use AI to help you express your feelings better.
Yeah.
But then that opens up to emotional ad targeting from bigger brands. That opens up so many different windows of just stuff that I would consider like, kind of scary.
Yeah, so I find that people will continue to show what they want you to see. I don't know if people want social media to be a place of like airing all your stuff, because then you lose that privacy. Of course, they've already got all your private information as it is, but there is some sort of like idealist view to social media.
Yeah. So, and this is actually a big part of Max's philosophy on things. So, I had a Windows laptop.
Yeah.
And he told me that Windows should not be trusted, and then got me a Linux laptop, and then installed the software himself on it, everything. Like the entire thing came assembled from open source parts. You can always disassemble and check what's inside.
Yeah.
There's this like push right now for open source systems that I really, really enjoy, because I've never really realized how freeing it is to go to a Linux system from a Windows system. I can't even go back to Windows system anymore. It's a really weird feeling. And I didn't think I'd ever say it, because I used Windows for 10 years of my life.
Well,
Or sorry.
Yeah, I just don't think about those sort of things. And it's one of those things. I have a Lenovo, and then I have my Mac. It's an old one, so it's not really doing too much there. But the thing too is like this iPhone that you're holding. The evolution of, you have to do everything now from your pocket. It's all right there. Your banking, your school, your communication to the outside world is all locked up into this one phone. And the fragility of that is scary. It's becoming a part of our hip, you know?
I think grayscale screens do everyone a justice. If you want to do a quick hack, put your screen to grayscale, you will hate your phone because it's not vibrant colors anymore. You're no longer attracted to it.
Dude, I've been trying to be on that kick a little bit. It does make you get off your phone, which I need to get off my phone. So I'm gonna go grayscale. Everybody, all you luckies out there, go grayscale.
Yeah, but I think the scariest thing that Max showed me about it was he opened up the Microsoft Code Editor.
Really?
VS Studio Code. Everybody has it. He goes into settings. There's this thing called telemetry there. For those that don't speak code language, we will read all the code that you write and it'll be sent to us just, for us to read.
Yeah.
It's a default setting.
Well, but then, there's always those people that say, "Oh, I have nothing to hide." Sure, but there is still a level of leverage,
Privacy.
right? Leverage and privacy.
And
have you heard of those brick phones that have come out that have a lot of people have enjoyed those because they're very solid and able to do that. But you see all these communication apps like Signal. You know how everyone said Signal was a completely secure network? They were literally sending the messages to the government.
Wasn't it Telegram?
Telegram too.
Yeah, I think it was Telegram because after you got arrested, they actually opened the logs. So I feel like I am Max and I talk about this part sometimes where we go and say, hey, 10 years from now, what do you want to do? And I think we both came to the same conclusion, just bunker, middle of nowhere, personal, phone, tower, just do whatever the hell we want. I think that's the real dream, and everything is just to do start doing this allows us to work on something we love, get better at different things, and then eventually we both hope for absolute freedom and actually being able to do whatever the hell we want when we want.
That is true freedom. That is truly being rich, being able to do what you want when you want to do it. And I'm loving this story that you guys are creating, because you're creating a freedom for letting people to actually be more creative and actually do the things in their job that they enjoy more. That is a noble fight that you guys are doing, and I'm excited to see how you guys scale. And I was just thinking about this. I'd love to have you be maybe my AI correspondent. We can connect on different episodes and check in every couple of months on how it's going.
Sure, and let me bring Max next time. And
okay.
That's when you'll really learn about freedom and the Second Amendment. He's a big fan. He does shooting competitively.
Yeah.
So once a week, that's a new habit that he instilled me. We try and go to the shooting range. If you're in town, we'll have to take you. But yeah, no, it's fun.
Yeah, I'm excited to continue to learn more with you. Why don't you plug the website right now and tell everyone where they can find you on Instagram or things like that, or even just learning about your business?
Yeah, so I guess my name is Mark Evgenev. My Instagram is mark.evgenev. The website is www.desync.ai. We're going to have an open beta. So if you do want to just try the platform once or twice, just go for it. If you're an analyst, reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm very happy to take that message and take it on the phone after, because again, I dislike the bots just as much as the next guy.
Yeah.
Always have a chat about anything related with, I guess, founding early stage companies, stress management, investor relations. I think at this point, I've done 8 startups, worked across 7 different countries, interned in 14 different places, and I think I've advised over, I'd say, 50 to 100 different startups.
Okay, so this was the Desync episode. So we got a lot more episodes on the way talking about all these other things.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, cool, man. Well, hey, I appreciate you doing this. it's cool to see that you have like a really cool outlook and view on the world of AI. You're in it. You're building a product that people can actually use and utilize. And I love talking about this sort of thing. It's the world of the future. We have to embrace it. We have to like make it ours. Otherwise, it's going to be made for us. So, thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks so much. You said something really funny there. You're actually building a product you can use. That's just such a phrase that just sticks in my head because I remember the first product we had. And for those that know what a CLI is, it's just a black screen with a white block of text.
Yeah.
You put in a name of a company, and then we'd actually do the search and find it. We went from that to actually something that looks nice, is usable, and people can actually like get a kick out of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, dude, that made me like laugh inside just thinking about V1 versus V30.
Yeah, dude, it's not luck, man. It's hard work. It's those all night long hours coding. You learn coding for it. And so now you have both. You have sales and you have coding. And you have all these avenues to do some cool things, man. I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, and if you haven't learned how to code and you're young, I highly recommend you learning how to code. It will change your perspective on life.
I know. I kind of want to learn, but also.
It's really, I guess, so many things to say, but I guess I'll end it there where by being able to talk that technical jargon, I was then able to go to every single provider that would rent out NVIDIA H100s and leverage them against each other to give us the best deal and the best discount. And then essentially put them into a bidding war over where do we host even.
Yeah.
And that gave us a lot of free credits, a lot of free stuff. So we actually didn't even have any expenses for that time. Which again,
that's smart.
Just being able to know.
Hey, that's luck management right there. I love that.
There you go.
I think it'll be beneficial for people to learn. I think it's it's not going away. So.
And by coding, I literally mean our entire thing is built in Python.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, coding, okay, anything in this world. People look at me and they talk about this podcast like, oh my gosh, how do you do that? Like, I'm not trying to sound like I'm a messiah or anything. It's not that hard. You just have to do the work. You just have to put your commitment in.
I feel like it's also like you look up to people who have like a bigger podcast and bigger platform. You see, okay, I'm not quite there yet, but one day I'll be, and that kind of roadmap is what drives a lot of the founders.
Yeah.
My favorite podcast, Harry Stebbings, 20 VC. This dude raised a venture fund on the premise of a podcast and then scaled it from $14 million to 140 to, as of 3 weeks ago, 400.
Wait, what's his name?
Harry Stebbings, 20 VC, has a podcast that he interviews just founders at the best companies in the world. He's interviewed people from Sequoia Capital, which is best, I guess, the best investor you could have in the world, all the way down to, I think he's done like founders of Airbnb. He's done 3,000 episodes.
Dude, you've given me so much good stuff to be looking at, so I'm greatly appreciated, and I think it's gonna be. I think we'll be doing these episodes more and more. So appreciate you, man.
More than happy to hop on whenever, and yeah, have a fantastic rest of your night, and go Irish.
Hey, go Irish, Mark. Thanks, man. Here, I'll pause it here.